I'm going to hand over to Chris, who's just going to introduce himself and then go through the questions. Over to you,
Good
Chris.
evening, everyone. I can't promise this will be as smooth as the daily government briefings, but we'll give it a go. Set number of questions that have been tabled. Thank you for all your contributions. But firstly, thank you for everything that you're doing in your respective clubs to keep the sport going, albeit in a very different form than we are used to at this current uncertain time. As you'll be aware, there's a current suspension on all athletics and running formalised activity through to the end of May. We're reviewing this on a regular basis with UK athletics and our home country partners, and we'll continue to communicate regularly with you as soon as that position changes. It might be useful at this moment in time just to give a bit of a flag for our England Athletics website, englandathletics.org, but also the Athletics and Running at Home platform, which sits on our website, where you can find all sorts of, I think, useful information regarding your involvement in the sport, whether that be as a coach, a volunteer, an athlete, or a social runner. So other useful platforms to visit, Phonetics, FUNETICS.co.uk. That's our new under-11s program endorsed by Usain Bolt and Katarina Johnson-Thompson. Lots of useful tips there for parents of young athletes starting out on their athletic journey. Also, our Run Together platform, runtogether.co.uk, where you'll find useful information there for social runners and leaders, and also the athletics.hub.co.uk platform. If you're looking for information regarding your involvement as a coach, a leader, a coaching assistant, whether that be qualification courses that might be planned in the future, or whether that be non-qualification based support, then please visit that site. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can find us there if you want further information. First question is regarding affiliation, EA fee and affiliation, club affiliation. Just for context, people may not be aware that the athlete registration and club affiliation fee currently contributes just under 40% of overall EA income. So it's really important towards sustaining the organisation and it supports the sport. It doesn't just support competition for athletes and runners, but a wide range of activities such as coach development, officials development, participation, club support and general infrastructure such as the website, social media platforms, and our general member services team, and of course general communications, all of which provide indirect, if not direct, benefit to athletes and those involved in supporting athletes. In short, I'd say that the individual athlete fee supports a lot of activity that indirectly impacts on the ability for the sport to provide opportunities for athletes. Each time the athlete registers with England Athletics, he or she is not just donating towards or for their own direct benefit, but is making a wider contribution towards the general health of the sport, from which they, their friends and teammates can hopefully ultimately benefit. As we know, without coaches, officials, clubs and volunteers, there would be no activities for athletes to enjoy. And we fully appreciate that clubs are going through their own challenges logistically and financially, hence why we've made some belated changes to our affiliation program, which I'll cover under the next question. In hindsight, we probably need to work a bit harder at communicating the purpose of affiliation. I think a number of people have thought that it's just directly aligned to competition. And of course, under UKA rules of competition, you do need to be registered with an England Athletics affiliated club to your home country. However, it is broader than that. And the contribution from fees is absolutely fundamental to keeping not only England Athletics going, but the other home country federations in the UK. Next question, please. Okay, so in terms of detailing the changes that have been made to the affiliation and athlete registration program for this next year, which actually starts tomorrow, April the 1st. It's all happening rather quickly at the moment. And the main reasons for the changes that were made and communicated last week to clubs and member organisations. We do know, as I've said already, that clubs are struggling to operate as they normally would due to the implications of coronavirus. Unseen, unprecedented, we've never been here before. and it's creating challenges for everyone, as we know, in general society. In response to the feedback that we got over the last week or two from well over 100 clubs, and in recognition of the unique and unprecedented circumstances facing us all, we're making some amendments to the timescales and athlete registration fee for 2021. We detailed those as follows in a communication that went out last week. The athlete fee will be fixed at £15. It's been there for a year or two now. We were planning to put it up to about £16. However, we felt the right decision was to fix that. Difficult decision to make, because even fixing it at 15 creates potentially a several £100,000 hole in our budget, but that's just the way it's got to be to support clubs at this moment in time. I'm not quite sure what they're doing in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. I think in Wales they're holding their fee, which is more expensive than England, as it is in Scotland, but time will tell. We are also extending the deadline for athlete registrations, which is perhaps at this moment in time more relevant to track and field than it is off-track running. Normally, clubs would register their athletes with us from the 30th of June. We're extending that to the 31st of August 2020 in light of this suspension period, and to give clubs a bit more time to coordinate themselves and to get their own financials in order. So that hopefully allows a bit more flexibility. Again, I would urge clubs, if they still have concerns, to speak to us, pick up the phone or email member services. Lynette Smith oversees that work, and we're here to help where we possibly can. We're hoping that we will get some athletics competition in place, hopefully in the middle of the summer, maybe if not in June, then by July, and hopefully things will resume to some sort of normality. But of course, we're directly led by the government guidance on that. In terms of athlete eligibility, in the event of a licensed competition taking place during the summer prior to August 31st, all athletes who were registered during 2019-20 will be eligible for competition up until the 31st of August. We just thought that was the right thing to do at this moment in time. And our competition checker facilities will be amended to reflect this decision. Any new athletes who haven't been registered with us before entering competition will need to be registered prior to the date of the event. The payment gateway, which is managed by our 1,400 member secretaries across the country, sterling work that they do, opens tomorrow morning, April the 1st. I do know already that some clubs are prepared for this and will be paying as usual. They've already informed us of that. But of course, that flexibility mentioned before will hopefully help some clubs. The individual club and member body fee hasn't changed. That's £150, and hopefully clubs will pay that by the end of April. I just wanted to take this opportunity to assure people on the webinar that despite an evident period of practical inactivity, such as competitions and physical conferences and education courses, we are working flat out to find different ways in which we can engage the membership and keep supporting the membership as much as we can. I've already mentioned some of the activities we're already undertaking to support activities for athletes, runners, club volunteers, coaches and leaders during this period using digital platforms. And I guess this period of enforced suspension is likely to change a number of us as organisations when we look back at this period and think, well, should we be using digital platforms more efficiently in terms of supporting the sport, not just in organisations like England Athletics, but maybe competition providers and also at a local level in terms of clubs, particularly with communication and using resources efficiently. Athletes registration fees make up a significant part of our income, as I've mentioned before, and enable the organisation to function. We will, in the summer, consult with the sport again. We consult every year on our registration and affiliation fees. It's part and parcel of how we operate, and we consider it to be very, very important to engage with our member clubs in setting that fee. So we'll do that again in the summer ahead of April the 1st next year, and we'll just monitor how the programme is going in the coming weeks and months. Next question, please. Okay, it's a question on competition, on youth development and the Heart of England competitions. Would we be able to organise the dates beyond this suspension period. Now, on that, we're working really closely with UK Athletics and the other home country athletic federations. UK Athletics are responsible for coordination of the fixture calendar process, which takes place every year. And we're now looking at what a revised competition programme may look like once the suspension is lifted. I think the immediate priorities, having spoken to my colleagues at UK Athletics, are making sure that the British Championships, the National Championships and area level championships are rescheduled. We are looking for the track and field season to be extended to the end of September, possibly early October if needs be. But of course, we've got to think about the cross-country season and the road season, which kicks into its full gear around that time. And availability of officials, of course, is important, but we might have to look at the level of officials that we require for these competitions. So there's a real opportunity here to perhaps blood some new officials, get some more people involved in the sport than we currently have. Of course, at a local level, we need to support and work with county associations, clubs, and other providers of competition just to get some activity going. Because I think there is a real opportunity here to be creative when it comes to putting on competition at a local level. We don't control the leagues. You're probably aware of that. They're run independently with their own management, and we cannot dictate to them. That would not be right. But we shall, however, be working with them closely to help them try and salvage something from the summer to some extent. People will be aware, a number of national championships, including the English Schools Track and Field Championships, the first two matches in the newly formed National Athletics League, and the 2020 season of YDL, the Youth Development League, has also been decimated. But that creates opportunities in the calendar as well for clubs and counties at a local level to organise their own fixtures as well. And I know that the YDL have been very brave in making that decision so that people can plan with some clarity. We work really closely with the YDL, with their management group, and we'll work ever closer with them moving forward, and with the National Athletics League, which has been formed by the merger of UK Women's League and the British Athletics League, led by Len Steers from Liverpool Harriers. We definitely think this is an opportunity to think and act differently in terms of providing track and field competition for our participants, particularly for our youngest athletes. We all know that youngest athletes, I'm talking about under 11s, under 13s, where in our view it should be team-based, run, jump, throw, local festivals between clubs, or indeed within a club, intra-club style, completed in 2 to 3 hours max and delivered in a fun and enjoyable environment. This is a unique year, and this is unprecedented, and this situation is an opportunity, as I've said, to think creatively about how we put on competition, particularly at that local level. I think there's going to be a need to be flexible when it comes to granting licenses for competition, and I know UK are aware of that, but also, as I mentioned, in terms of officials, and that's an important consideration. We all clearly need to work together to get through this period, and of course, compromise is going to be needed at all levels. Next question, please. Could England Athletics organise a championship competition for under 11s similar to the one that Northern Athletics were planning this year? Thanks for that question. We will raise this with UK Athletics and the other home countries, but the priority for under 11s first and foremost must be to ensure local intra and inter-club based competition. As I mentioned before, running, jumping, throwing, the fundamentals of our sport should be embedded at that early age. And we've got to try and limit the travel time for under 11s. As we know, parents and elder brothers and sisters and carers have other commitments. So making that as easy as possible for them is important. Keeping competition short time-wise, I think, is key. Fun, engaging, and ensuring that each child does a run, a jump and a throw, possibly a medley relay as well. And we must work in adherence to the long-term athlete development model, with youngsters not specialising too early, because we never quite know what they're going to be good at when they're seniors. We are working with UK Athletics at present to introduce a new under-11s track and field competition aligned to our phonetics programme. These plans are in place, they're still in place, and we're looking at the possibility of awarding participants with the chance to compete at national competitions, such as the anniversary games in the future. Of course, that may be put on hold this summer, but it's very, very much part of our plans moving forward. Next question. It's a question about logistics for organising an AGM, given this current period of suspension near lockdown. My response to this, I suppose, depends on the nature of the structure of the club. Isn't it unincorporated members association or a company limited by guarantee? I think it will vary across the country. I think certainly for the former, that is an unincorporated members association, and probably also for the latter. Clubs should take a pragmatic approach and circulate all members to request that in the current exceptional circumstances and the difficulty of holding a physical meeting, everyone should accept that the meeting should be held electronically, possibly with the provision of a proxy option for those that don't do technology or want to vote long distance. Notice periods, documentation should be circulated, and quorum issues should all be observed as normal. So normal way of running a meeting. And in case of any remaining doubt, there can be a ratifying resolution at next year's meeting. Lastly, I must stress that these are ideas and we can't supply legal advice. However, our legal providers, Muckle, based in Newcastle, offer all our affiliated England athletics clubs and member bodies the first 30 minutes free of charge on a legal helpline that we've been running for a few years. If this is the one big issue that you're facing as a club, it could be useful. Their number is 0845 050 8458 or email englandathletics@muckle-llp.com. I must add, of course, that we're using technology tonight. More and more people are going to be using technology over the coming weeks and months, and I think it will change the way in which we operate and communicate across all sorts of organisations and make better use of resources and capacity that we have. So Microsoft Teams is often used, Skype, Zoom, those are three of a number of platforms that can be accessed for this purpose. So yes, I hope that is useful. Next question, please. Okay, question on virtual running challenges. A number of innovative providers are already getting ahead of the game in this respect, including Dover Roadrunners. And we are actually working with UKA and the other home countries ahead of initiating some virtual challenges ourselves in the next week or two, so look out for those. We want people to stay active and to utilise their one opportunity per day to exercise as per the government guidelines. There are already a number of clubs, as I've said, and other providers getting on the front foot in this respect, as long as, of course, the government guidance is adhered to, and which is detailed within our FAQ document that was last updated on the 26th of March and is on our website. We'll be providing ideas for virtual competition during this fallow period, and hopefully those will be helpful if it means keeping members engaged, athletes and runners active ahead of a period where we could all return to some degree of normality. As a recap on the guidance that we've issued around COVID-19 and the current pandemic, all face-to-face activities such as club training sessions, events, competitions, club committees, meetings and face-to-face meetings, one-to-one coaching, athlete camps, running groups and social events are currently fully suspended until at least the end of May. It's absolutely essential that all of us adhere to these guidelines because we've got a bigger responsibility towards society at this moment in time to keep each other and keep our fellow people healthy during this period, as we'd all appreciate. Okay, we have had some queries around insurance, and I can confirm insurance is still valid during this period for clubs, coaches, leaders and registered athletes involved in virtual coaching, online guidance, e-learning and other digital and remote activities not requiring in-person attendance. Providing risk management plans are put in place, of course. That's really important, risk management and managing risk. Your local club support manager working for England Athletics, we have 12 across the country, should be a useful contact for you if you're unsure on any of this detail. They are in possession of the same information that I have, that I are party to, and they will be able to guide you. There is actually a resources side to the England Athletics website now with lots of useful tips and hints around running your club, which is easy to find on the Athletics and Running at Home page of the England Athletics website, including guidance and advice for committee members around welfare, safeguarding, running your club and general leadership tips. So just to finalise on that point, of course, government guidelines, the official guidelines are you should only leave your home when travelling for food, health reasons or essential work. no gatherings in public, one form of exercise a day outside, such as a run, that's good. Walk or cycle, this should be done alone or only with people you live with. And you've got to stay 2 meters apart, which is apparently 6 foot, from other people, ensuring you maintain this distance when overtaking and passing others whilst out running. And only travel to work when it's absolutely essential and can't be done at home. I'm sure you're all aware of that. Next question, please. Okay, so there's a question here around probably approaching competition suspension and cancellation in different ways, the different needs of national events versus local events, and whether we can treat the two separately and give greater flexibility. Look, on this question, I'd say, firstly, we all need to consider the government guidance when assessing if the suspension period ends, is partially lifted or maintained. Currently, it's difficult to make an either-or decision, and the suspension quite rightly applies to all competition providers. It's not possible for any face-to-face competition to run as we know it, whether that's a national competition or a local event. I think that's really, really important. The UKA-led competition strategy group, which Donna Fraser oversees, former international athlete, is looking at this carefully at the moment. And as I mentioned before, we're looking at an extension to the end of September for the track and field season, which had been provisionally agreed by UK and the home countries. Our focus as an organisation will be on delivering our own home country championships and, of course, British athletics with their events, and at an area level as well in the North Midlands and South as priority. But as I said before, that opens up an opportunity for counties and clubs and other providers to work together locally to facilitate these opportunities. The most important thing in this unique year is to get people competing. And I would imagine when the suspension is lifted, there will be a period of 3 or 4 weeks that is permitted for, before competitions take place, for people just to train and get their fitness up ahead of competing. And I think that's going to be really, really important. UK are producing some competition principles that they've been sharing with competition providers around how we approach the remaining period of this summer once the suspension is hopefully lifted. Hope that's useful. Next question, please. Okay, question 8. Our club now has £1 per registered athlete and runner remaining, as you decided to fix the £15 for 2021. What should we do with the £1? Well, your options here, I guess, are plentiful, but first and foremost, just to clarify, if you collect this as a separate item alongside subs, and technically you hold that money in trust until you pay it on to EA or return it to the athlete. So you need to bear that in mind. If, however, you just levy a sub and then as a club pay EA to register all or a particular number of your members, and technically the excess £1 in each case is the club's money to do with it as you please. Here are some suggestions in terms of how you might use that money, but of course, I thought you should start with just engaging the athletes in some shape or form to get their views on things. Here are some ideas. You could, of course, return it to the athletes on consultation or after consultation with them. You could keep it and build a hardship fund for those members who require support during this current period in either subsidising or paying fees. You could keep it and use it towards purchasing new kit or vests for a specific team in the club ready for a specific competition during the late summer or perhaps winter season. You could keep it and use it towards a post-coronavirus intra-club competition and festival or social event, which is get people together, get the spirits up, etc. You may, some of those, the people on the webinar who are involved in other sports will know that in sports like hockey, rugby, cricket, they have a program called Rugby Force, Cricket Force, and Hockey Force. We're looking at piloting something in athletics, which will come in the future. Very, very similar. It's a day of activity where you get club members together, maybe hold an intra-club competition, use it as a mechanism for recruitment of volunteers, cutting the infield, getting the changing room, social area ready for competition. Just a really good opportunity to get people together. And then I suppose the money could go on refreshments, hire the facility, medals, and so on and so forth. So there's another idea. You could keep it, of course, and use it to subsidise access for a club volunteer to undertake a coaching, leadership, or officials education qualification. If you have quite a few registered members, that might cover quite a few volunteers as well. And the final suggestion I've got is keep it and use it to subsidise the purchase of equipment, loose fixtures and fittings, maybe some mini hurdles, under 11s, kit bags and what have you. Maybe something for sports or athletics if you run that programme in the autumn-winter period. Question 9. What are England Athletics doing to support facility operators and clubs who own or operate their own facility as they have significant fixed costs with no income streams? Well, the first thing I would say is look at business rate relief. It was announced, it was part of the announcements by the government a couple of weeks back. You can apply for business rate relief. I believe it's up to £25,000. And Ed Hunt, our facilities and planning manager, has been fielding quite a few calls from clubs across the country on this, as I know our club support managers have had as well. So take a look at that. It might be relevant for you. Ed Hunt, our facilities manager, is working to understand the key challenges in more detail at present, but we are fielding inquiries from clubs. The number of clubs that actually own their asset, their clubhouse or their track in this country is quite low, but we are aware that some clubs are in that position that they can, where they do own or have a long-term lease to manage that asset on behalf of the actual owner. And in many cases in this country, tracks are owned either by local authorities, schools, colleges, universities. We are looking to reprofile some of our local budgets through our club support managers. Satellite clubs is one example where we will take the restrictions off that funding, and possibly that could be used by clubs to help offset some of the problems that they're facing at a local level. Some of you may have noticed today on the Sport England website that they have publicly announced a relief fund for clubs. I think there's, and voluntary organisations, I must add, not just clubs. I think there's £20 million in that fund that's been announced today. We will be looking to promote that far and wide to our member organisations and clubs in the coming days, but there you go. It was only announced this afternoon, so take a look. It might be useful for you. Question 10. What is EA doing to support clubs and club members to stay connected and engaged with each other? Well, I've already mentioned the England Athletics and Running at Home platform. We are running webinars throughout this week and in the coming weeks as well on various different subjects, covering technical events, pole vault, endurance running, sprints, hurdles, and so on and so forth. We've obviously given access to all the qualified and licensed athletics coaches and coaching assistants and leaders across the UK to the Athletics 365 XL resource, which I believe, I'm told, currently retails at around £25. So that's been provided for all qualified licensed coaches, leaders and assistants. So if your coaches in your club have not heard about that, they should have done, because they should have got a note directly from ourselves, because they're on our database. Then please encourage them to check their emails. It's a useful resource, particularly for those coaches, leaders and assistants working with young athletes. We are still taking applications for our club run program, which is mainly aimed at off-track harrier sections or running clubs. That is a program that is funded by England Athletics, where we send a qualified, normally high-end endurance coach, someone like a Tom Craggs, Spencer Duval, Nick Anderson, into your club to work with your runners of all abilities, all aspirations, over a 3-month period, 3 sessions, so you can train towards a specific event. It might be a local 5K, 10K, half marathon or marathon. And we're taking applications for that. Of course, won't be delivering until suspension is lifted, but that's another opportunity for you. We're also looking to run a virtual club night, which I believe Stephanie Cameron, one of our club support managers, has taken a lead on. So look out for that. It's likely to be on one of the social platforms, possibly Facebook Live, I would imagine. But Stephanie will advise on that. More information coming out. And also share. We encourage and implore people to share their positive news stories with us. What are you doing as clubs at this moment in time that we can help to promote, which might boost your membership when the suspension is lifted, but also it will be a quid pro quo. Everyone will share the other way as well, and you'll learn from them. So if we can create this community of learning during this period of suspension, then I'm sure we will all benefit. I've already mentioned Athletics Hub and various other platforms, but yeah, we want to hear from you. I think that concludes the set of formal questions. Chris, is there anything in the time that we've got left that we would like to answer, please?
No, we haven't had any more questions through, Chris. There's been a couple of positive comments, which is really good to hear. People appreciating having access to the 365 resource, and also someone who attended the youth conference at the weekend who basically said that they wouldn't have usually been able to get to something like that. So actually hosting things online through different platforms, although we're forced into it, is actually a really positive thing. So I guess it's something for us to think about going forward. As you've already said, it will no doubt change the way we do certain things for the better anyway. Other than that, no, there are no additional questions. So thank you, Chris. Thank you, Tim. Thanks for everyone for the time listening. We'll send the recording. I will just put up on screen now a quick survey. So if you've got 2 minutes, then please fill that in. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.